Hi, I'm Jeff Murrah, and I want to welcome you to True Texas History, where today we're going to be talking about the Filibusters of Texas and the Adams-Onis Treaty. The Adams-Onis Treaty is an important part of the filibuster legacy because the treaty essentially said Texas is off limits to Americans. No Americans allowed. And it was a treaty negotiated by then Secretary of State John Quincy Adams and his counterpart in the Spanish territories by the last name of Onis. And essentially what the treaty was, the United States renounced all claims on Texas. And in exchange for that, they received the authority to take over Florida. So it was essentially a swap of Florida while hands off of Texas. Now, if this sounds confusing to you, it's understandable because although the Adams-Onis renounced the claims on Texas, it was under President Polk that the claims on Texas were reinstated. National government, what do you expect? Now, with it making the Texas off limits to filibusters, filibusters essentially became criminals. Now, although the treaty formalized things, there was this kind of uneasy peace between that part of Spanish Texas and the United States that was essentially set up between Herrera, who was then acting governor of Texas, and James Wilkinson, of all people. And they set up this kind of neutral zone where all the criminals and bad guys were that was kind of off limits to both sides. And so this kind of no man's land mentality was there along the border, which is why a lot of the filibusters went ahead and went across, even before the Adams-Onis Treaty went into effect. Now, John Quincy Adams was never a fan of Texas and Texas joining the Union. He essentially, after he was president, later on, he went back into the legislature to fight vehemently against Texas joining the Union. It's no surprise that some of those people that he joined with, they formed an anti-Texas league. It included people like Santa Anna and the socialist Robert Owens. And you say, gee, what's an former American president doing hooking up with socialists and opposing Texas? Well, ask John Quincy Adams. As Robert Owens, had the first socialist commune in the United States, and he teamed up with him. In fact, Owens tried to pitch his socialist ideas to John Quincy Adams when he was president-elect. Now, John Quincy Adams didn't bite, but it may have influenced some of his thinking. Who knows? But the Adams-Onis Treaty was a big roadblock that stopped a lot of activity in Texas. Not totally. Essentially, then everybody, rather than just pouring over the border, had to legally immigrate. And so they went ahead, and that's when you start seeing people like Moses Austin and his son Stephen F. Start to get contracts to go ahead and bring in settlers. It was the Adams-Onis Treaty that changed things and made it to where that was the preferred way to come into Texas. But today, February 22nd, back in 1819, was when the Adams-Onis Treaty was approved. So I figured that this would be an appropriate day to go ahead and cover that topic. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, concerns, feel free to leave them below. I'll be glad to get to them. So until next time, vaya con Dios, my friends. Goodbye.